I really enjoyed Terminator Zero, but it's got some issues that kept it from being great. It's really frustrating because there's a lot there that I do like, but there's a couple big issues that are really hard to overlook. I would say it's probably still the best Terminator thing that I've seen since T2, but the issues that it has, I think, keep it from being really, really good. There were so many ideas that I really liked, but the imperfect execution left something to be desired. So let's just get into it. A vague description of the plot is that Malcolm Lee is a scientist in Japan, and he's trying to use an AI that will counteract Skynet and prevent Judgment Day. From the future, the humans send Aiko back to stop the Terminator and to stop Malcolm Lee from creating this AI, and the Terminators send a Terminator back to kill him and shut the AI down so that Skynet has free reign. So from here on, there'll be spoilers. Some of the things I liked about the show are you see another approach to stopping Skynet that isn't just save John Connor or the new savior or whatever the case is. I like the idea of this philosophical debate between Malcolm and Kokoro about the value of humanity, even though I feel like it got botched in a few places. I really like the characters. You don't get Malcolm's backstory until the second to last episode, but I really liked his story where he was like, look, we're losing this fucking war. We're never going to win. The Terminators are unstoppable. And he grew up being a soldier from the age of like 5. And he was trying to come up with other solutions. So going back in time with his advanced AI, Misaki, and trying to create a new AI to counteract Skynet, I think is really interesting. And it could set up for a really good second season if the show gets one. Like, I like the idea of we're in a new timeline now. We've moved forward in a way that the humans are kind of caught in the middle of this AI battle. And you have the human plus AI side versus just the AI side. And presumably, even within the humans, there'd be an anti-AI faction. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. I like Kenta's arc of viewing the robots as just tools. And that's something that he carries through the entire show, especially when you get the reveal of Misaki and he gets pissed off and he's like, you're one of them. But eventually, when his dad dies at the end, for the idea of uniting humans and robots, he finally comes around and he's the one who decides not to use the EMP, not to destroy the AI and the robots. And that's kind of like his arc, is this pretty interesting debate, I would say, of at what point do robots deserve to be viewed as equals to humans? Because obviously no one's going to say that your vacuum should be. But when you have a character like Misaki, when you have the Terminators, should they have the respect and dignity that we treat other humans with in an ideal world? The whole thing with Misaki being an AI but not knowing it, I also find super interesting. I like when it gets revealed and Kenta and Reika are arguing, and Reika's like, she's still the same as ever. And Kenta's like, no, you're just programmed to feel that way. Like, your feelings mean nothing. And that's another missed opportunity for me. I think if you want to get a little bit more philosophical with it, it would have been nice to have someone in the show to point out, like, well, your biology programs you to care about your brother and your father. There's a decent argument there about how much do your genetics dictate and how much is your choice, and how different from computer programs are we really, especially AI like this that are allowed to just develop on their own. So all that stuff is super interesting to me. I feel like they just dropped the ball a couple times. But I still did like the whole thing where Kenta's like, you're just a machine. And Reika's like, no, she's not, you idiot. Like, she's always taking care of us. You should treat her better. She's not just a tool. And also the idea of an AI, not knowing it's an AI has been done, but I still enjoyed how it was done here. And I thought the explanation was pretty good, which is always nice, obviously. I like that we get Aiko from the future, and she, even though has a ton of plot armor, does get beat up a lot and make a lot of mistakes and kind of feels like she screwed everything up. So the biggest issue with the plot is plot armor. It's just rampant throughout the show. I like Aiko and I like her story, but she goes hand to hand with the Terminator over and over, on top of him just missing shooting her with a Gatling gun and all that kind of stuff repeatedly. That's the biggest issue for the whole show. It feels like the people who made the show didn't understand what made the Terminator scary. What made the Terminator scary was the fact that it was relentless, it was indestructible, and it would just nonstop pursue you. And if you ever let it catch up, you were dead. They made the Terminator more action-oriented, and I think most people probably wouldn't be bothered by it because it's anime, and people are willing to overlook stuff in animation that they probably wouldn't overlook in a movie. It seems like since T2, no one has really gotten it right that what makes the Terminators terrifying is that if you let them get close to you, you're dead. Something else they could have done interesting is make Aiko a cyborg. Not like a full-blown Terminator, but have like Terminator upgrades, kind of like a Wolverine with adamantium bones or whatever. And then you've kind of gotten rid of a lot of the plot armor, all the stuff with her going one-on-one with the Terminator, and she's still human. And then again, you can get into the philosophy of at what point are you a human or what point are you a robot, blah, blah, blah. Mass Effect touched on this with the synthetic ending in particular. I really like how they explain time travel in this one. I don't know if this is a concept from the original, but I still like it as an idea, where the old prophet lady explains that every time you go back in time, you're essentially taking a different path forward. So you have to live through your whole present, even if you're in different timelines. She's talking to Aiko, but the robots can never actually win that way because as soon as they've sent someone back, that person has jumped to a new timeline anyway. And it's a really interesting philosophical thing for time travel. And there's something here with Aiko that I'm not sure if it's paradoxical or if I misunderstood, but it seemed like what they were saying is that in a different timeline, she was Malcolm's mother. They both ended up jumping to this timeline when they went back in time. Although the show made it sound like you create a new timeline when you jump back. So I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I do like that she's kind of lost as to what her purpose is, because her big breakdown halfway through the season is she failed. It was all for nothing. Everyone that she cared about from the future is dead. Then we get to end with the show telling her to take care of her grandchildren. She has newfound purpose because she has family that she didn't know she had. Part of what makes the show really frustrating to watch, I think, is that Malcolm Lee is essentially trying to convince Kokoro before he gives her unlimited power, humans are worth saving. And Kokoro is saying, like, you know, everything you guys do, you turn into a weapon. You've been killing each other nonstop. Any invention that progresses humanity, you guys find a way to use it to destroy each other. She's like, you know, once you activate us, we might agree with Skynet. So this entire time, he's trying to debate Kokoro and convince it that humans are worth saving. The reason I find it frustrating, character-wise, I kind of get it once you know the twist later on. But even though I think it kind of makes sense character-wise, it's frustrating because he's not ever a very good advocate for humanity. He just kind of concedes that, like, yeah, humans destroy everything and you should help us anyway. And I get that you're arguing with an AI, that you don't think it has emotions, you want to be logical, but you can still frame things in a way that is logical, but also makes humans worth saving. Even when she talks about things like love, she reduces it down to that's your biology and your innate need to procreate and keep the species alive. And he's just like, yeah. I think probably what they should have had him do was make the argument that, yeah, humans have always killed each other, but we've been around for thousands of years in our current form, and there's always been humans pushing toward peace. And even though it's taking time, we're getting there slowly. Every generation in the Western world, or I guess in this case, the Far East, has gotten progressively less violent, progressively more peaceful. We're finding out ways to live longer. We're finding out ways to save the planet, blah, blah, blah. Because there's definitely points in there where she's making the argument that humans are destroying the planet. For me, that's the perfect time, even if the show wants to push a pro-environmentalist message or whatever, for him to concede, like, yes, we've damaged the planet, but as soon as we realized it, we've tried to start healing it. We've tried to start ensuring its longevity. And then he should also point out, like, yeah, we've been killing each other for thousands of years, and we've found a lot of creative ways to do it, but Skynet came online and blew up the entire fucking world. Like, I feel like that's a decent argument against the fucking robots. I also do like the main message of the show, and this is part of what makes the stuff with Malcolm frustrating, is where he's kind of shitting all over humanity. What ends up getting Kokoro to play along or agree with him is when she says, you know, I've seen the worst of you, and I've seen the best of you, and I like the best parts of humanity. I think this would have hit a lot harder if he had been promoting the best of humanity all along instead of just kind of shitting on us. But I still think it's a good message for the show. I've seen pretty mixed reception on it, and I think I get why. I think it sort of depends on what you want to focus on. You know, the plot armor thing is definitely annoying, and it definitely does, I think, kind of damage the world building of Terminator in that regard. And I think the problem with that is it's one issue that lingers throughout the whole season, just repeatedly. I think it's a solid, fun show. If you get over the plot armor thing and what it does to the Terminators, and you get over Malcolm kind of shitting on humans for the first part of the season, I think it would be a really, really good show. And obviously, very relevant themes with everything going on today. You know, there definitely is a message in there about being responsible with the advancement of technology that you may or may not be able to control. I mean, shit, YouTube can't even control its own algorithm right now. Could you imagine if that shit had a mind of its own and access to all of the networks and technology in the world? So it just feels like a couple different choices, and the show could go from average to good to, I would say, great. So it's just a little bit frustrating in that capacity. I'm going to leave it there for this one. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. I try to respond to all the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.